Well, hey everyone, you got Joe and Coach Hilary today on the podcast. We're going to talk to Coach Hilary about post-pregnancy hormonal health. But first, I want to talk about what's going on at Couture Fitness. We are enrolling right now for our July program, our metabolic makeover program that starts in July. Our wait list is actually pretty large right now, and we have more ladies on that wait list than we anticipate having spots for in July. So if you know that you want to work with us, I really recommend heading over to our website, couturefitnesscoaching.com, go to the work with us page and reserve your spot today. And you can also, if you have questions or you're not sure whether this is the right program for you, on our website, you can also schedule a discovery call. And there will also be a link to that in the show notes. But one of the reasons that we sell out so quickly is because we have amazing coaches like Coach Hilary, who is, like I said, joining us on today's podcast. So Coach Hilary, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yeah, I think I am Hilary. I think I'm one of the only coaches in Texas, so representing the South. But yeah, I am 35. I have a wonderful husband and 2 kids. I sound like I'm on Wheel of Fortune. And I have a 5-year-old and then a 14-month-old. So life is busy, but fun.
Awesome. So if you go on our website or you and see a picture of Coach Hilary, you will see that she is kind of a beast, very strong. So how did you get into strength training? I know you're really big into CrossFit, but how did you get into strength training, learn about nutrition, and develop the love that you have for fitness?
Yeah, so I think I was pretty active all the way through junior high and high school. Never thought about it. I went from a really small school, so if you're remotely talented in anything, you better be active. And then when I went to college, the freshman 15 hit, like most of us did. It was the first time that I had been away from home, and about, I guess, my sophomore year, I really started actually using the gym at school. And I think I started kind of like most of us do on the elliptical or the cardio. And I think I got into running and did a half marathon and then triathlon. So at the very beginning, I was very cardio based. And then a few years after college, I had a friend who was like, you would absolutely love this CrossFit thing. This was like 2011. So 2010, 2011, it's very new, no one really knew what it was. And I went one class, and I'm not kidding you, it changed my life. Became just completely obsessed, became CrossFit coach, and really worked on starting to lift for the first time ever. And my body, I actually was in the process of getting married, and first time, but that's a long story short. Second marriage is the best marriages, I like to joke about. But I was in the middle of planning a wedding when I started CrossFit, and my body changed with weight so quickly that my first wedding dress, I went to go try it on, and it didn't fit at all. Like, my body changed that fast in a really good way. But it was just introducing weights for the first time. I did nothing diet wise. I did nothing. It was just changing out being a cardio bunny basically to lifting. And I just became obsessed, and I fell in love with it. And then I was diagnosed with endometriosis, stage 4 endometriosis, when I was 25, 26. So my now husband and I knew that we would have to do fertility treatments. And if anyone's gone through fertility treatments, your whole life changes. It is time consuming. It is very hard on the body. And basically I had to put CrossFit on hold, which was hard. It was like my identity at that point. And really started doing no more high impact, no running, no jumping, no anything, and straight bodybuilding style lifting is what I started doing. And again, changed my life, changed my perspective, goals, everything. And I've really just never gone back. So right now I do a hybrid of CrossFit. I usually do CrossFit 3 to 4 days a week. And then I either do accessory work or weightlifting the other two. But I'm not kidding you. If you told me, Hilary, I could give you $200 if you would go run a mile, I don't know if I could run a mile.
But you could.
I bet I could, but it would not be pretty. But I have loved doing that transition, and I love seeing other people make that transition to realizing like you really and truly can sculpt your body the way that you want to once you figure out how to lift weights.
Yeah, it is a pretty amazing transformation.
Yeah,
So Alice and I, have more of a bodybuilding background. What is the difference how would you describe the difference between CrossFit and bodybuilding?
So CrossFit typically comes in two elements. You typically, and again, it depends on where you're going, but typically you do some type of strength training for 15 to 20 minutes. They'll run cycle. A very well-run gym will also run very well-ran programming, which, it could be squats, deadlifts, push jerks, anything like that. And then the last 20 to 30 minutes of class is typically what we call the Metcon or conditioning portion. So that is where you get in, that's where you see some of the crazy things that when you think of CrossFit, that's probably what you think of. You think of the box jumps and the jump roping and the lifting and the pull-ups and all that kind of stuff. So that is the conditioning part, to where when I'm focusing just on the bodybuilding, it is, much more rest, much more programmed, planned out. I typically do the same cycle of weightlifting for 6 to 8 weeks, which I know for people coming in, they're like, I don't want to do the same exercise for 6 weeks. I'm like, I know, but the whole point is to continually progress. So very different, very similar. I think most people, once you get that CrossFit experience under your belt, a lot of people like to transition to the weightlifting. And honestly, it's hard on your body. CrossFit is very hard on your body when you're doing it at the levels that I was doing it. And, it's bodybuilding is sustainable, I think, for your whole life. I see 70, 75-year-old ladies who are like killing it. CrossFit, you can, but it's going to be scaled. But I think for longevity reasons, I'm lean more towards on the bodybuilding side.
Nice. Okay. So let's talk about one concept that we talk about a lot is that, sometimes our brains are ready to lose weight and it's like, okay, let's get this show on the road. Let's cut some calories. Let's lose some weight. But it doesn't mean that our bodies are ready for weight loss or for cutting calories, and that it would be a good thing for our body to enter into a fat loss phase just because our brains come up with the idea that we want to do that. And sometimes that relates to hormonal health. And so I know that you recently went through a cutting phase, but you waited. You also had a baby. You have a 1-year-old, right?
Yes.
But you waited to do that because you knew there was some stuff going on with your hormonal health. So tell us about that. And you waited an entire year and you ran tests to make sure your hormones were in a good place for you to try to lose weight. The quote unquote baby weight.
Yeah. For me to back up, again, I mentioned with both of my kids, I did IVF. And really within a long stretch, I was one of those unlucky ones that it took 6 transfers for me to get my 2 kids. So in between, there was a solid 5 years to where I was either doing hormones for the shots, egg retrievals. It's a lot. It's a lot on your body. And so for 5 or 6 years, I was either trying to get pregnant, getting my body prepped to be pregnant, being pregnant, breastfeeding. And then I basically did the cycle all over again. My first pregnancy was easy peasy. I think some of it has to do with I was 29 or 30 when I had her. The second one was rough. And so that's kind of my story to lead into the hormone place. I had placenta previa with my youngest daughter. So I was literally bed rest at one day I went to the doctor and never came home, essentially. So I was in the hospital bed rest for 30 days. And if anyone who knows me knows that was like, it was living hell. I didn't get to see my oldest daughter because it was during COVID. But long story short, had her. And, part of it is stress. I mean, it was an extremely stressful time. She was in the NICU. She was healthy, but still had to grow. So I was balancing for a whole month life of, finally getting out of bed rest, trying to get my oldest daughter back into a normal routine, still being super mom to her, going to the NICU all day. It was, I think, really and truly looking back, my body was just it was simply trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And my post-pregnancy was so rough. And I'm not talking about from the moment, I think I was just running off of steam. But about 4 months in, my hair was falling out in clumps. I was sick all the time. I normally am like anyone, I have super high energy, to me, I don't understand how people don't work out every day. Like if I have to take a rest day, I'm like, what do I do with all this time? I'm just a super high energy, high motivated person. And I tell you, I couldn't get out of bed and I knew something was wrong. So finally went to the doctor and they pulled my blood work and they were like, I had literally zero testosterone and zero estrogen. And so my doctor told me, you've got to stop breastfeeding. She's like, if it's very important to you, you can continue, but you're never going to get better until you stop breastfeeding. So I made the choice to stop breastfeeding just to try and feel better. I mean, I was desperate. And at 6 months, I went and got my blood work done, still nothing. At 9 months, I went and got my blood work done, still nothing. It took an entire year for my body to get back to normal. And I think it really was, we don't recognize how stressful stress is. And a lot of us are living in just work. We're all busy, right? But we don't, it's crazy when you truly break down lab work. I think lab work is so important. Thyroid, hormones. I think a lot of times when people say hormones, they think of like just your sex hormones and, that kind of stuff, but it's literally the foundation for your body. And if your body doesn't feel safe, it's never going to, it'll always be in fight and flight until you give it something. So basically what I did during that time was I ate at maintenance, and it is hard. It's hard. I'm an athletic, fairly lean person. With my daughter, I literally gave birth, and 2 weeks I looked like I had never given birth. It was crazy. It was not the case this time. But I knew that I had to put my body and myself first. And I ate at maintenance, which for me looks about 23 to 2,500 calories every single day until 13 months postpartum.
Okay.
And finally I got the green light from my doctor in March that said, you look like a normal human being with blood labs. Yeah. And I was like, yay! But it took 13 months of listening and giving grace to myself, and fueling it, which is, I think, what a lot of us miss.
I think you made a good point. It's like the frog boiling in the pot. We don't experience it as a stress. Like you would probably say, well, maybe not when your hair was falling out and all that, but like, I feel fine.
Yeah.
It takes, getting out of that to be like, oh, I was really exhausted, or, I wasn't doing so great, but you don't necessarily feel it in the moment.
Right.
So what do you think would have happened if you had ignored all of that and said, by goodness, I'm going to get this baby weight off, and you had slashed calories, like, I don't know, 3 months after?
My body would still be trashed. I mean, I think I would still feel the same. I probably would have, honestly, I don't think I would have ever lost the baby weight. I don't think my body would have been so stressed out that it probably would have backfired on me. Absolutely. I would have put my body in some type of even more stress, in the starvation mode, and it would have just given up on me completely.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Okay. So, I always say about half of the clients that we have that come to us are in that situation. Maybe their hormones aren't out of whack, but they've been eating at a calorie range for so long, like their bodies are kind of in like metabolic chaos. They are usually eating very low calorie, which I would say is like 1,500 calories or below for a grown woman. But they are often carrying quite a bit of weight, but are unable to lose weight. And we have to deliver the bad news, like, guess what? you've got to eat more. We got to do some
But
things before we start cutting calories. And so I guess though, I think in a lot of people's brains, they think like, okay, well, I just have to like, there goes my dream, or I have to wait 6 months. But this is
right.
not a situation. You can still make huge improvements during that time period where you're repairing things. It's not like a just retire to the couch with wine and Oreos
I give up.
situation.
Yeah.
So
And
talk
that's,
about what someone can do when they have to do that repair work, what they can focus on
yeah,
instead, and
it's
what you
not
focused on.
fun. Nobody wants to be, especially when you have a goal, or, nobody wants, very few people are able to flip their brain and say, okay, I know that if I treat, the way I look at it is, if you treat your body right, your body will treat you right. Period. End of story. So if you feed it and fuel it, and you tell your body, okay, I promise you, I am not going to starve you anymore. Here's all the food and the goodness. And if you do that consistently and I don't mean for 2 weeks, I don't mean for 3 weeks, I don't even mean for 4, you're talking, this is a 3 to 6 month process at minimum. If you will just allow your body to repair itself and to trust you again, that it will trust you. I'll go into my cut.
Yeah. What did that look like?
Yeah. So I did a cut, and what people don't want to hear is that at the end of the day, it truly is a calories in versus calorie out. It really is. But in order for that math to work, your body has to trust you. And for 13 months, I told my body every single day, you're going to get 2,500 calories. You're going to, I treated it right. So when it was time for me to get ready to a concert, and I knew I would be in a bikini for 5 days, and I had a goal. So I mathematically did it backwards, and I gave myself 6 weeks. I said, okay, I'm going to, again, purely mathematical. I'm going to take this amount of calories minus this equals, about 500 calorie deficit a day equals a pound roughly a week. Here's my vacation. And it worked to the T. But the only reason it did is because I had fueled it properly for a year. So my body said, hey, I know this girl, and she will feed me. She will treat me right. Oh, look, she wants to do something. Shed that 3 or 4 pounds, had the time of my life, and now I'm right back to maintenance. And the next time I cut, maybe it'll be, I think we're going on a vacation in November or December. So what will my life look like? My life will look like 25 to 2,600 calories every single day up until September, October. I'll say, hey, body, you've done fantastic. Let's look really good in this bikini in Mexico for 4 days. I will mathematically do it backwards. You have to trust the system, but you have to treat yourself properly. And that does not look like 1,000 calories. That doesn't look like 1,200 calories. Doesn't even look like 1,500 calories. Like,
yeah,
my 14-month-old probably eats more than 1,200 calories.
Yeah.
So any grown adult woman should be as well.
Yeah. So you, I'd like to say that you adapted or were a full believer in the calories up is cool lifestyle before we were out promoting it.
Right.
You have a saying that 1,200 calories is so 1990. So that's, I think for a lot of women, that might be a generational thing, but we do spend a lot of our time coaching women that like, no, 2,000 calories that's adequate nutrition for an adult woman, not 1,200 calories. So how did you learn that? I mean, that is news to most women that we work with. So
it is. And I think I look back, and it's certainly not my mom's fault, but I grew up where, the moms were drinking Slim Fast in the morning for breakfast and a Slim Fast at lunch, and maybe a side salad for dinner and 2 Snackwell cookies. Like that is what the 90s were kind of about, if you look back at it. And so it's really, and so that gets brought into our minds. And that's what, for whatever reason, this 1,200 calorie, I don't even know where it came from, but that has stuck with us for literally 40 or 50 years. And I think just now people are realizing that's not enough for a toddler. Like it really and truly is not enough for the toddler. And you can go down the range of like the USDA food pyramid and what mess that is. That's to me, the food pyramid is very much like the 1,200. It's outdated. It doesn't matter. I kind of went on a rant there, but yeah, I mean, we have to figure out how to get this message out that women should be eating 1,700 calories a day. And that should be normal. That you don't even have to work out to reach that. You don't have to hurt yourself for that. Like, to me, let's just can we get rid of 1,200 calories and the word bulky? If we can get rid of those two things, I will consider my life and I'll move on.
Yeah.
If I was a pageant, that's what I would wish for. If I was a pageant.
Yeah.
Well, forget world peace. Get rid of 1,200 calories and the word bulky and I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, that might bring about world peace in a way.
You're not wrong.
You definitely practice what we preach, because like you just mentioned, I just did the math. It sounds like you were dieting on 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
For a short period of time.
Easily. Yeah. And honestly, if you asked my husband or kids, they probably didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, it was what I took out was like, I love a trail mix. Girl, I love me some trail mix. And that, honestly, just getting rid of trail mix was really my biggest change. I mean, maybe I did less steak and more grilled chicken, something like that. But for the most part, if you ask my husband and kids, they didn't even notice that I changed anything about it. It's a very small change that can make a massive difference in your life.
Yeah. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, she just has a fast metabolism and she's just someone who can eat a lot. But what we try to explain is like, no, it's really a matter of lifestyle inputs. And there is some genetic component to metabolism, but you also, like this, during this last year, while you were waiting to diet, you didn't give up. I mean, you've been lifting heavy for years. So part of this is just the sheer amount of muscle that you have on your body. And go look at Hilary is a very petite person. She's very muscular, but that's not like accidental. That's right. An intentional lifestyle input.
Yeah, that is. But again, that's where the muscle is truly the magic. Like, if I could get everybody to lift, you would be amazed at what you can do. And my only two really big life changes have been pregnancy, but it always amazed me at how fast muscle memory is. You can sit out for those 6 to 8 weeks, roughly, is how, what they ask you to sit out. And I was amazed at that first day back. I'm like, oh, this felt good. And your muscle starts clicking and everything works together. And if you can get that foundation of muscle down, the world is your oyster.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And just as we're talking, I mean, this is just such a very different approach, this mindset piece, and like getting your body to be healed and in a place where it's healthy enough to lose weight. Very, very different approach.
And I really think it's important. We encourage our clients, obviously we're not doctors, but you should know your lab work. You should be getting your lab work every 6 to 9 months. And sometimes, which blows my mind, I really have to push my primary care physician, and she'll be like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, no, I pay for insurance. I want to pull my labs because it gives me a good idea on, your thyroid health, your all your hormones, your blood. Sometimes you can be vitamin D deficiency, and we need to be assertive for ourselves, and lab work should not be. It's weird to me how many times clients have been like, well, my doctor won't pull this, or my doctor, that's part of your overall health. Like, right. You should be having draws every 6 to 9 months, and it helps us, it helps you, it helps your doctor. It's a puzzle piece.
Another data point that's very helpful to have.
Another data point.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting because so I'm older than you. So I'm about 10 years older than you. Well, a little bit older than that, 13 years. I'm 48. So I have I have a 15-year-old. But I remember, so I had very tough pregnancies, morning sickness every single day.
Ugh.
I could not work out. I mean, it wasn't just
the whole time.
No, I mean, I was nauseous. It was just I would say even more than getting out of bed. I mean, it was just every day was a struggle. So I lost a lot of strength. I would lose weight. I lost weight the first 6 months of my pregnancies from the morning sickness, and then gained a ton the last 3 months. Yeah, and I had big babies. So, and tough deliveries, the delivery with my daughter, I mean, it wasn't like terrible, but I came out of those pregnancies not in tip top shape. But I remember the goal of my maternity leave was to lose all the baby weight. That didn't happen, but that's why I
Right.
had this like pounding pressure that, I got back on Weight Watchers.
Well,
Okay.
and it's our media doesn't do us any favors. There is
Yes,
this massive expectation. Now, on the flip of the coin, I will say, and I think we're getting better at this, but I remember, when people would find out I'm pregnant, well, you get to eat for two. Well, you don't. You don't. The first trimester, you eat just as normal as you do. The second trimester, you get an additional, I think it's 200 or 300 calories. And then the third trimester, you get an additional 500 calories. But I was half lucky, but also half disciplined. I gained about 20 pounds with both of my kids. So it was fairly easy, but that's also a choice. That is a choice. I would get dirty looks when I would be at the gym 9 months pregnant. And then I would also get people like, way to go. It's funny how it varies, but I think pregnancy, how you decide to choose your pregnancy is your choice. And if you want to say, forget about it, I'm going to eat for two for 9 months, that's totally up to you. But you also have to expect that afterwards it's going to be hard, and you're going to put in the work.
I think the mindset that we banish is that if you can't be cutting calories, you can't be making any body composition improvements or investing in your health. And the opposite is actually true. You only want to be cutting calories for a short period of time. And just because you're not cutting calories, you can be making all sorts of investments in your physique, your health, your body composition. So that's what we really need to change. This kind of all or nothing thinking.
Could not agree more. And, I know people always want to, okay, well, I did 1,500 calories for 3 weeks. Now can we do 1,200 calories? And you're like, no. Like you think of it. I heard a really good, I'm always listening to podcasts, and I heard it was like, think of it as a bank account. You have to, before you withdraw to go buy a Louis Vuitton purse, you have to sock away money. And that's what you're doing. The longer you sit at reverse and maintenance, you're socking away that money into your bank account. And then when it's time to do something fun and you want to go on a cut, you've earned it, and you get to buy that purse / go on the cut. But you can't, you can, but it's called credit card debt. You can't buy that purse with nothing in there. You have to think of weight loss like that. You have to put in the time and the commitment and the consistency of working out and eating at a high calorie. You have to just say, okay, I'm going to stock all this away. And then when we want to do our cut, then we can take away from that. But you can't draw from an empty bank account. You just can't. And that is what a lot of, I think that's where we get stuck somehow, is that everybody always wants to have the newest Louis Vuitton bag, and you just can't sit at 100 and whatever pounds your whole life. You can't.
Yeah. So no, that's a great analogy. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about coaching and what you love most about coaching clients.
I love to be people's cheerleader and therapist and counselor and anything and everything else. Advocate. I like to always tell my coach, I'm a big, I can read people, and I pride myself on knowing what someone likes. So I mean, very old school, Biggest Loser reference, but in my real life, I'm a very Jillian Michaels. Like, I run a tight ship. You don't mess around, but not all clients like that. There are some clients that need to be coddled and loved. And so coaching is fun because it's a psychological, figuring out who needs what and what needs, and there are some people who are like, I'm tired of your excuses, buck up. And they're like, thank you for telling me that. And then there's some people who are like, okay, well, let me see, let's break it down. But I just absolutely love women. And I love when it clicks, and there's always that time. And it's typically, I don't know about you, you may agree or disagree, but it's usually that 3rd to 5th week when they're with us, it clicks. And I think at the beginning, they're riding on hype and emotion, and they're like, I'm doing this. and if we can just continue, it's the newbie gains and then, or, newbie losses, if you want to say it, is fun. But my favorite part is when it's now just part of your daily life and it clicks.
I agree.
And I think something else that a coaching secret would be, we don't want you to need us, or we don't want you to need us your whole life. We want to give you the foundations. We want to give you the tools. We want to see you succeed. And then, but there's nothing prouder when I have a client that's like, thank you for the past 12 months. This has been awesome. I figured it out, and they're flying on their own, and every once in a while we have someone come back and say, hey, just hold me accountable, all about it. But I think those are my two favorite things about coaching, for sure. Yeah. The light bulb moment, and then when they fly on their own.
Yeah, I agree. That's fun. Okay. And then what's your favorite thing about coaching with Couture Fitness?
Oh, I love the mindset piece. I have never seen a mindset piece. I think I told you, like, this is why I decided that Couture was for me, is because, there's 1.5 million calculators out there that you can put in your weight and your height, and it'll give you, if you want a simple calculator, there's 1,000 of them on the internet, but nobody holds you. You get your own coach. You get mindset piece. You get to hear from people on the weekends. There's these podcasts. Like, without a doubt, this is my favorite part of Couture. Okay. And I am so proud of the women's group, and sometimes it's just, hey, I found this at the grocery store. That alone is worth its weight in gold, or just small, simple tasks that someone will post. And I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. I never even thought of it. It's like having, what do we have now? Like, how many members do we, I don't want to spit out a number.
It's over 70. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, it's like having 70 of your friends that all have the same goal. And we may not all have truly the same goal, as in, physique, number on the scale, et cetera, but we're all trying to be better women and moms and business people. And, it's really fun to have a collective group of women who are cheering for you. Yeah.
No, and what Hilary's talking about is we have group classes, group mindset coaching classes, and then we have a Facebook community, but we do have a community. And so,
but it's weekly. I mean, who else can get that, And then, it just blows me away and the, the mindset books and all that kind of stuff. It seriously is just amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is so much more than just me spitting out calculators and seeing if the person complied or not. Like, that is totally not our job. It is so much funner and more intertwined than that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So, what do you think it takes to be successful on our program? Like, who is this for, and who is it not for?
I mean, at the end of the day, we are all here to be your biggest coaches and your biggest support and to keep you accountable. But I can't come to your home and monitor every single thing that you put in your mouth. Like, I think the people who are successful are the ones that are okay with ebbs and flows. There are some people who, if they didn't hit if their macros were 1980 and they didn't hit it, they forget about it and throw it out the window. That's not the people we want for. This isn't supposed to be perfect. Mm-hmm. This is, it's going to be ebb and flow, and it's going to be, but you have to be willing to put in the work. And it's probably going to be, there's a learning curve. There's a learning curve to macros and to lifting and to, maybe not doing cardio and shifting your weights towards you have to be willing to work for it. And we are here to hold your hand as much as possible, but you also kind of got to be able to roll on your own. Yeah. And if you don't think you can do that, that we're not for you.
Yeah. I think the best way I've heard it explained is like, coaches will help simplify things for you, and we will tell you what to do. But you have to do the work. The client has to do the work.
Yeah. There's no
way around that.
I can write the most detailed plan on the face of the earth, but at the end of the day, I can't sit over you like a child and see if you're doing it or not. So you've got to be willing to put in the work.
Agree. Okay. What do you think the biggest excuse or lie that people tell themselves about
I'm too busy
getting fit is? Oh, yes, I agree. That's the number one. I think what's actually going on is people are feeling overwhelmed.
Right.
And that's normal. That's totally normal. If you were going to try to make any big lifestyle change, you're going to be a little overwhelmed at first, but instead we tell ourselves, I'm too busy.
And there's small hacks. I'll tell people, get a treadmill at home. There's like a one on Amazon for $200. It's a fold up treadmill. And if you have 4 Zoom calls that day, take one of them on the treadmill, and there's your low intensity walk for the day. Like there's no, I'm sorry, but there's no excuses. I also don't believe in the word motivation. People aren't motivated. You either do or you don't. To me, I brush my teeth every morning. I wash my face at night. I don't always feel like washing my face. Like, who wants to, like, you're comfy, you're in bed, you're already in your show, but you get up and go wash your face because that's what's best for you. To me, that's the same with exercise and eating right. Like, it's not always fun. And I don't always want to go to the gym, but it's a non-negotiable. Going to the gym and putting in the work and eating the correct amount of food is just like brushing my teeth and washing my face to me. And I think that is a mindset that people just have to understand and just learn. I hate when people are like, well, how do you find motivation? You don't. You're a big girl or boy, like you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm going to do this today. And then you follow through with your word.
Yeah. The motivation actually comes
harsh, but it's the truth.
Yeah. The motivation usually comes at the end no one regrets a workout. No one regrets hitting their macros or tracking their food.
Yeah. And I think once you start seeing results, it's easier to be motivated, but at the beginning, you're just going to have to put in the hard work. And I also heard something, I'm not sure, I'm not telling anyone anything new, but it was like, don't ever skip a habit 2 days in a row.
Right.
And I thought that is such a good, you can we all have bad days. And I hate when clients start with emails that are like, I had a bad weekend. Like, you don't have to make excuses for me or for yourself. We're all human. Things happen. We get sick. You don't ever have to make an excuse. But the important part is, okay, I had a bad week. I got emotional. This is what happened, but today is a new day and this is where I'm going to start. To me, it's how you pick yourself up rather than put yourself down. I
agree. Okay. And then what's your best advice for someone wanting to get started on a fitness or weight loss journey?
I mean, us, obviously, feel free to reach out to us, but really, the wonderful thing about the internet is that there are, and they're not always right, but there's 1,000 different resources, and you can find, again, it's small steps. It's swapping chicken breast instead of a burrito, or it's, going, if you have 30 minutes to work out, make it a lifting session instead of a 30-minute on the Peloton. And, I'm a Peloton queen. I love it, but I choose the strength and conditioning 90 times more than I do the cycling or the running now. And that's just it. You will see huge changes in your body. I promise you, if you will lean towards the weights rather than the cardio. And that's coming from a very old school, loved me a cardio bunny. Yeah,
I agree with all of that. Okay. Well, here's how some of your clients have described you. I asked them first.
Oh gosh.
So one said, I can feel Hilary's energy in every check-in and it gives me a mood boost every week. Another one said, I know that Hilary is cheering me on and she is always helping me achieve the best for myself. And then another one said, Hilary is energetic and positive. I love her enthusiastic support. So that's
make me cry, Joe. Gosh, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
I just want to ask her.
So that's how our clients describe Hilary. So if you'd like to work with Hilary, we can set you up, or you would like to have. You are a very energetic person. So
well, thank you. And I truly love. Yeah, I am. I'm high energy. I love to be a cheerleader, and I will always be your cheerleader.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I will say is, we all, this is, both for Allison and I, we all have day jobs. All of our coaches do very, important day jobs but we're all doing this because we love it.
Absolutely.
And I love that we've been able to create that, like a place where women who have a passion for fitness and nutrition and have finally figured out that fuel or that food is the ally, not the enemy.
Love it.
that we can come together and help other women.
And I just want to share my passion with everybody else. You know, like I love that I figured out in my mid 30s what I'm good at, what I love, like genuinely brings me joy. And I just want to share that with people. And I think that's how you know that you found your passion and where you want to be, because, you know,
it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. So, and I'm glad that you're part of our coaching team. So we usually end this with what favorite food we're fitting into our macros these days. So I assume for you, trail mix again.
Trail mix or turtle trail mix, turtle Chex Mix. If I'm having a bad day and my husband looks at me and he just knows that I'm about to be grumpy, he will go to the store, buy turtle Chex Mix, and I am like a brand new person. Like turtle Chex Mix to me, sweet, salty, money. What about you?
Yeah, that sounds good. I have been on a bit of a Torchies Tacos kick. I know you're from Austin, and we now have Torchies in Kansas City because it's an Austin chain. But so I've been enjoying some Torchies, and now that I'm out of this, you know, I can easily fit it in now that I'm out of, you know, competition prep. So I have been
I was going to mention, I think you know, I don't know about you, but I don't really count macros. Sometimes it's a good lesson for me just to remember what my clients go through. But the goal is to get to a place where, you know, you just kind of know how to fuel your body. And every once in a while, I'll do it to remind myself what clients, or if I make a recipe and want to share it with everybody, you know, I'll go in and have a rough idea of what it looks like. But the ideal is, you know, you said, what does it fit into my macros? I know my body so well, and I want you to know your body so well that you know when it's being fueled correctly. And, you know, one day you won't have to walk around with your phone and MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or however you choose. You know, that's all of our end goal, is for you to feel good in your body, but not to have to micromanage it. So it's funny, you know, I'm like, I have to every once in a while just to remember. And but once you do it for so long, it just comes back. You know, I'll say next Tuesday, I'm going to track everything. Okay. Yes. I'm hitting 2,800 calories. I'm hitting my protein. I'm good to go for another month, you know, and that's the goal.
Yeah, I am a weirdo, but I think part of it is because I spend a part of the year in competition prep, and it's changing all the time. I have to track, but I love it. It gives me comfort. It's just like hitting targets every day.
And that's another thing. And we talk about multiple clients. You got to figure out the kind of person that you are. Like I'm the type of person who, once I figured it out, I didn't want to do it on the daily. And I have plenty of friends who, even when they don't, have a competition goal or anything like that, they track every single day just to have where they are. So it is totally up to the personality. And I'm more than happy to help clients go either which way.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Coach Hilary. And like I said, if you like what you heard and you'd love to have Hilary as your coach, we can make that happen.
I do have some spots available. So I would absolutely love anyone who wants a cheerleader, sometimes me. Yeah, I can bring on my Jillian side, ask my kids. So if that's the kind of personality you need, feel free to call me out on it.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thanks, Hilary, and we'll talk to you all later. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.